Chicago had a lot to do with like my musical development, because I had so much time when we were pregnant. Like I just stayed in the room a lot and just played the guitar and like really focused a lot on that. And I thought when I got back to New York in '04, I wanted a break. Like I slammed that year, but I wasn't focused the way you need to be focused. You need to be focused for these things. And now I was like, I'm gonna take a little break, and that's when I started developing the band. And like '06, '07 is when we started gigging a lot, and a lot after. I mean, again, ebbs and flows. But this has probably been the more constant I've been in the last few years. Like, cause even when we, sorry, I can't control the neighborhood. I can't control it. I have no clue what's going
Nobody
on.
can control the neighborhood. That's the whole point.
Like, I won't look out the window and go, what are you doing? Because this isn't a big street. This is like a side street. The big street is over there. And I'm like,
I mean, what I got to ask you, what's your take on that? We haven't, this is probably the first time, and I've been talking to somebody for 53 minutes, and this hasn't come up. I mean, what do you think about what's going on, man?
it's a lot. Like the words that tell people is, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and there is so much information to like digest. But
Every
for me,
second, every minute.
Yeah, but this isn't like the first merry-go-round for me in terms of this. Like, I've been active for a really long time. I think I've probably been least active because, um, like, uh, there has to be a celebration for somebody.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I've been active in like for a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff and like just talking people through who maybe haven't done this before. Right? This is for a lot of people the very first time jumping in waist deep for organizing and for protesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of people in their teens and early 20s, man, out in the street.
Right? And the thing is that you have to know how to digest all that and sometimes even like be able to go home, and even though it's hard to do, like just like really let it go so you can redistribute all that energy to like
because it can consume you,
and it burns you out.
Yeah,
like it burned me out. Like I think I was active for about 5 or 6 years. I was like 17 to like 22. I mean, we were talking about I would hop the train to go to a protest, and I think eventually what ended up happening was killing me right now. This is like the quiet time of the day.
That's crazy.
But I think maybe someone graduated or something. That's usually what sounds like. Like they did that for my nephew.
Those caravans, right? They drive by.
Yeah, and they come through, and I'm just like, you're lucky the eggs are expensive because I would, But then you see someone with balloons, you're like, I won't. But because I live in the complex here is really really big. I remember one time I hopped a train to go to a protest because when I was a teenager, the big thing was freeing Mumia Abu-Jamal. Like that, and that's still a thing.
That's
right?
still a big thing. I was gonna say it's still a big thing.
Like it's still one of those things.
You'll see one of those signs at every protest.
Because like what we know that Mumia represents a very big win if it happens of him not dying on death row, right?
Then explain the whole story in a nutshell.
So he was a Black Panther, and he was really associated with like Black radical politics in Philadelphia, and he was a journalist. So Mumia, is beyond well-read and very well-spoken, had a radio show. He got pulled over, and when there was a fight, and when they woke up, the cop was dead, and Mumia was on the floor bloody. So they say, he killed the cop, and he's been on death row for about 30 years. He wrote an amazing book called Live from Death Row, and Mumia is one of those people that garnered international attention, like Leonard Pelletier, like Oscar Lopez Rivera. Mumia, has been there for a minute, but Pennsylvania, they don't want that. I mean, first of all, Pennsylvania lost. Jersey lost Asada, and Pennsylvania was like, well, we're not gonna let that happen to us.
Shakur, right? She killed a New Jersey state trooper.
Allegedly killed a state trooper.
It's probably in self-defense, even if she did.
Not even that, but it's like when you are a Black revolutionary in the United States, everything is self-defense.
Right.
So I'm on these constant rallies and protests for Mumia, for police brutality with the National Congress of Puerto Rican Rights, And one day I hop the train. I almost got arrested for it. And I get to the protest, and the guy next to me was like, "Oh, well, my job told me I had to be here." So I realized, I go, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, I work for this, and we basically got paid to come to this." And I was just like, and, I was 22. Like, I was still trying to figure things out. So I got to a point where a lot of it just ended up being rhetoric, right? And I think that's always the issue with these peaks, right? Where rhetoric just starts being everything, and it's like, well, no, what are you gonna do next? So I think after that is when I decided, well, if I'm gonna do any of this, I'm gonna do it through poetry. Like, I'm gonna do it through poetry and do it through, teaching and teaching creative writing to whoever. So those things were really important in the very early development. And you gotta take breaks. You gotta take breaks because you will get burnt out. And the last time, for me, it was, freeing Oscar. Man, before Oscar got let out of jail,
I couldn't believe it. It's almost like independence. It's something you're pushing for. You want your whole life.
It is a rare win in terms of Puerto Rican, revolutionary politics. We got Oscars out, and I met him a couple of times. His nephew is a really good friend of mine.
His brother was my teacher in Chicago, my professor.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So, Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I took a class history of Puerto Rican politics, and it fucking radicalized me.
Yeah. No, for me, in terms of radicalizing, it was Ronald Fernandez's book, Prisoners of Colonialism. That it was amazing. He wrote the Macheteros book. He wrote another book called Cruise in the Caribbean. I mean, they're really hard books to get now, but I always tell people, if you get it, you buy as many as you can.